the expectation for content creation changed dramatically. You're just trying to be authentic. And that gets thrown around so much these days. It's such a buzzword, and I hate.
I always like to start these things with a quote, and today I have social media, a term to describe the current state of the internet and the place where the consumer's attention is, Gary Vee. And I think Bobby Dimovski is the best guy to talk about that today. He's the CEO of 4MJ Social, helping multi-physician medical groups turn marketing into a predictable growth engine, driving more patients, referrals, and revenue without guesswork or gaps in the patient experience. Bobby, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great, man. I'm happy to be here.
Fantastic. Now, we heard the quote from Gary Vee. Can you tell me a little bit more, first off, your journey? Like, how did you start? Where did you start? And how do we get to here to talk about social media?
It's kind of crazy to reflect back on it because uh, when I got to college, that was 2004, 2005. So when Facebook had just launched, I was at one of the few universities that could actually access it at that time. So I remember not knowing what it was or how it worked. And my roommate's girlfriend signed me up for an account and just put me on there. And so uh, that initial exposure to social media was, we had no idea what it was going to turn into 20 something years later at this point. And now just to see the way that the world has shifted around it's kind of nuts. I mean, the speed that it's all changed, the way we all perceive the world, the way that we, interact daily with friends, strangers. Everything is just online and it's so instant through social that it's just changed our culture and our society as a whole.
Absolutely. Now, the changes that you were seeing from that day with that roommate and their girlfriend that made the Facebook account for you, what are the changes that you were seeing that were, the good, the bad, and the ugly from the early days all the way to where we are today?
Oh man, that's we could be here all day going through good, bad, and ugly for sure. But I'll try to keep it as tight as I can because again, we're talking, uh, you know, 2 decades of history and evolution of something
Yeah.
that's moved so fast. So really, from the jump with Facebook, I mean, initially it was really just communicating with people. It was staying in touch with, with friends at other colleges, communicating with people that were at your same university, but then it started to expand. Eventually you didn't have to be just a college student, and you could, just have an independent email account and you would get on Facebook. That's when things really started to grow. I think that was probably 2007, 2008, around that time, maybe sooner. I don't know if my timeline's perfect on that, but
Yeah.
uh, from that point, you know, I didn't really use it much. I didn't know much about it because I was just kind of in my little, local bubble, which a lot of us were. And then for me personally, once I graduated, I had friends that moved across the country, across the world. I had family that moved across the country, across the world. So just keeping tabs on people, seeing what they were up to, making sure that, you didn't have to pick up the phone every few days to make a call. You could still see what was going on. It was a great way to just be resourceful and seeing what your friends and family and people were up to. Um, from there, it started to expand, right? Then we got into Twitter, then we got into Instagram eventually, and uh, there was just so many questions around it that I was always trying to find answers to, and that's really where my business started and spawned. Was, hey, this is accessible to a lot of people. How can we take a business and expand it through these resources? So
Right.
um, it was interesting to try and find those problems and find those solutions, especially as new platforms were popping up all over the place. Many of them died and failed and didn't obviously live up to the expectations of the world we live in now with social. And even now, there's new social platforms popping up all over the place and failing as well. So, um, but once things kind of fell into a rhythm, right? We knew what the big 4 or 5 social media networks were. Um, we figured out how businesses are going to work on them. It became really interesting and really viable. And then once we figured that out, the pandemic hit, and that flipped social media, the world, the internet upside down. Everything did a total 180 at that point. And the change in that short period of time was so exponential. It was crazy. And that's really where I started to reevaluate what all of this was and what it meant because, two things happened. Number one, everybody had time to figure this out and they had an understanding that this was part of our lives now, right? We were all stuck at home for the better part of whatever it was, 6 months, 8 months.
Yeah.
I can't even remember now, which is, knock on wood. It's been so long that we don't have to think about it. But, it was part of our lives and everyone kind of understood it was going to stay. So that was one part. The other part of it is, I'm reflecting back on 20 years ago when I got started in social media. Kids were being born then that grew up on this stuff. And so now these, 18, 20, 22-year-old kids that have been ingrained in this social media culture, they use it way more efficiently. They use it way more creatively than I ever could have imagined.
Yeah.
And they're finding new ways to just access the world and be a part of the world and communicate. And so those two things combined post pandemic have changed everything. I mean, TikTok culture is pop culture these days. You can't have one without the other. Communication, phone calls are probably at this point way less frequent than DMs. I mean, it's just crazy that that's just, again, the world we live in. And it's just going to continue to evolve in that direction. So, like I said, 20 years to me, it feels like such a short period of time and what I've experienced. But the technological and societal difference that it's made for us has been so huge. It's kind of unbelievable when you think about it in the grand scheme of things.
It's very interesting the way that you lay out the timelines in those like crucial moments because we can go through nuances, but it was very true that in the beginning, I remember those days as well. It was just about like university students, and maybe then you start to be like, oh, now that person went to a different campus, a different university,
Yeah.
or they are doing a PhD, and you're kind of keeping a tab on those people, and there was tagging someone's wall, stuff
Yeah.
like that was happening. Those were then you would see like the crazy comments, just like a whole conversation, or the first celebs that were arguing, and then you just like read the comment section, you're like, wow, this is we've never seen any of these things being open
Yep.
and exposed um, to the world in essence. But I think there was a that's what I was going for, and you described it well. The moment where people understood that this was a business tool, this can be used
Mhm.
for business, and you're absolutely right. There was some that popped up like Vine. Vine was, I mean, in
Yeah.
essence, TikTok today. That's what
Yep.
Vine was, but it didn't kind of stood the test of time. And then in most recent time, you have I would put there Threads, which was hyped, and it was automatically
Mhm.
you get it with Instagram, and that kind of is not even close. I mean, probably Blue Sky is more popular than Threads, from what I've seen.
Yep.
Um, and some of that kind of moved away, but there was a moment like you said, it was noticeable that now that this can be used for business, and this is not just a communication tool, and then the newer generation that was basically raised with this, it's in a different than the one that we are seeing it, or because we were kind of with it through the whole time. When you start to notice that it can be used as a business, and you said kind of like around the pandemic, everybody had the time to figure it out and accepted the fact that this is kind of here to stay. We just need to make it better. What are the first business endeavors that you were like, I'm gonna do it for this client, or how did that look like in the beginning? How does that look like, through the time changing, and what are you doing today?
Yeah. So when I got started with this, working social media with businesses, it was about 2013. So it was kind of when the concept was first being cooked up by Facebook only, really.
Yeah.
And so you could create a business page. And, you know, I saw that and I just thought it was interesting, right? It's for me, my marketing brain. Um, and at that time, I wasn't even in marketing. I didn't have my agency. I was in sales. And so to me, I just thought to myself, I mean, I could speak to the masses if I was a business in a way that I'm trying to do through flyers and billboards and TV ads and all these traditional methods. You could do that at a fraction of the cost and have it be focused towards a local community. And that really just made sense to me. And so the early days, man, it was so easy. I tell you, you create a business page, and if you made it look halfway decent, which was easy back then because Facebook was not as complicated as it is now. I mean, it was a profile picture and a cover photo. And I think at that time, I mean, I don't even know if we could upload pictures on the business pages. So it was, text only to start. Obviously, you could add photos eventually and the video eventually. But the secret sauce back then was just post. If you post a couple times a week and you're putting your messages out there, it's just reaching people. And it was a beautiful thing for about a year. I mean, everybody that we were putting on, that I was picking up as clients, and I was just contracting at this point. I didn't have anything formal going on, but I was picking up clients. I was just posting on their behalf and putting relevant content out there, and it was working. I mean, it was an ongoing billboard, and it was me just shouting from the rooftops for these businesses, and it worked like a charm. And then as time went on, things evolved. Facebook, they started to develop their algorithm for businesses, and so you had to figure those pieces out. Eventually, you were able to do ads and boosting posts, and all the things that we're used to now just didn't exist back then. So it was so easy because you just had access to the world. As things evolved, though, like I said, we had to learn how to do ads, had to learn how to, monitor, track the analytics, all these things that marketers are doing for every aspect of marketing, period. But it was new on social media, so we just had to apply it. But I think the big change, again, when it came to the pandemic, was the expectation for content creation changed dramatically. Again, if I was posting 3-4 times a week about a business and speaking about the business or educating people on who they are, what they do, who they serve, all these different value propositions for the business, again, it made sense. You're speaking to the community, you're putting yourself out there. After the pandemic, I mean, people expected video first and foremost, which changed everything. But polished video, which was, it became so cost prohibitive and time prohibitive for a lot of businesses to do it. And a lot of agencies like mine to be able to do it on the behalf of clients because we weren't in their building every day. We couldn't shoot the videos at a high quality and edit them at a high quality and do things at a certain expectation. So it made the whole industry become a little bit more segmented. So again, you couldn't necessarily shout from the rooftops anymore. You had to really niche down on your audience. You had to really figure out what they wanted and really figure out if the ROI was worth it for social media, because again, it was a time commitment now. It was financial commitments to be able to put these things together in a way that was expected. And it was so wild to see it in real time because, we went from pretty much here to the expectation shot through the roof. And then eventually it kind of came back down and people understood like, all right, we can't expect these highly polished influencer type videos from everybody all the time because that's just not realistic. But to live through that process of people trying to figure out how to do it was so interesting. I mean, I had so many clients, and especially my clientele's in healthcare, right? So it's doctors, dentists, it's very professional based services. They didn't go to school for this stuff. They don't want to know any of this stuff, generally speaking. They want to help patients and do their job. And so now I've got, dentists wondering if they should do a rap to some, about about whatever service they're trying to promote over this and that. And I'm just like, guys, you cannot try to be these influencers. That's not how it works. I mean, that's not you. But the fact that everyone was considering this and thinking about it, everybody was doing their, TikTok dances and whatnot. I mean, there was a year span where everybody did it because they thought that that's what they needed to do. And then eventually we figured out like, you can be yourself. You don't need to do these things. You just need to make sure you're targeting the right audience and you're on the right platform for that. And that's kind of where we settle into is, some businesses, TikTok makes sense. Some, Facebook still makes sense. Some, a sprinkling across multiple platforms makes sense. It's just all about goals and objectives and what you're trying to do and what you're comfortable with at the end of the day. But yeah, that 6 months, 12 months where everybody was doing the TikTok dances and trying to do that whole thing was one of my favorite time frames because it was just there was so much cringe-worthy content out there that just made me laugh all day long.
I mean, I can imagine you trying to be like, Doc, no, you don't have to. Then to like, please stop it. Stop the dancing. It's like, if you go back a little bit more in time, it was the cat videos. Everybody was
Yeah.
posting just cat videos. Like, they're not that fun. The first one was pretty cool. And now they're just becoming, like you mentioned, like cringe worthy at one point because there was no, I think you fall in that territory, at least from my personal view, when it's just like for the sake of the trend, if you will.
Yeah.
Politicians started to do that. Then you also had going back a little bit more in time, the AHL water bucket where people were dumping water buckets on themselves, the ice cold water, and challenging 4 or 5 people because it was just increasing reach rapidly. So they were not doing for the right target; they were just doing for the vanity number of the reach.
Yeah. You know what's funny about that? To sidebar, so the ice bucket challenge. Um, my my 9-year-old daughter came home from school about a month ago, and she said that she had been nominated to do the ice bucket challenge. And I was like, well, is it 2019? Like, what is this? And apparently, like, kids are just like doing it with each other now for fun. So I had to go and get a giant bag of ice, and my daughter recorded it, sent it to her friends, and she nominated her friends, and it was going around her school for like 3 weeks straight. We had to do it 4 times at our house. And I'm just like, what are you doing? But you're right. Like these trends, like that's fun for them. But yeah, people were doing it because they felt like they needed to, and they felt like if they didn't, they were going to lose business from it. And that's just a wild place to be as a business, where if you feel like you're not recording this video, that it's going to negatively impact your business, and that's not where we should be as a culture.
Right, right. I think it moved away from not just that one, but like the dancing and all those things. It was
Yeah,
supposed to be something like positive in tough times, and then it just became like these like dances 24/7. And I think with time, it went into the cringe territory of this is
yeah,
not done properly. This is pretty bad, and we're just trying to copycat something, or there's no KPIs behind it. It's just like let's do for reach, but reach who? Nothing to do with our main audience, or how will that look like? Like you were mentioning professionals, how will that look like in 4 years? Because that thing will stay. Like someone can save it, and that's about it. That thing will stay forever. So it's good that we started to understand that you can't just chase the numbers. And I think there was a period of time where it was how many followers you had, and then people figured out how to buy followers and how many real followers. And I think now it's in the area of you can have 2 3K and you can just crush it in your niche because that's
yeah.
what it matters. It looks like that, kind of like the radio days of broadcasting going to narrow, 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 and now we're in the social media area of the more you're narrow and focused and niched, you don't have to have these massive numbers, which before were very, very important. Now, when you start to look at your experience with doctors, specifically with the niche that you're in right now, you started working with doctors, and I would put them as also like you mentioned, like really professional people. What are some of the stuff that people that are high professional, doctors, lawyers, accountants, what are some of the framework, like the base, like today they sat down with the assistant, the poor person that has to answer the phones, that all of a sudden they gave them a phone and said, "You're gonna post today on social media. You're gonna do our social media." What are the basics? Like, don't do that. What are the basics they should be doing?
Oh man. Oh, again, we could be here all day with this, but I think where we're at right now is for professional services. I view it as there's two sides of the coin, right? There are some people that they want to do what we've been talking about, the influencer stuff. And it's not, crazy TikTok dances, whatever, but they want to be known on social for their profession and who they are. And there's a lot of people who like that. If that's the case, go for it. It takes effort on their part. They can't just, they can work with an agency or marketers, but it has to be done internally. And there's a commitment that goes along with that. If that's the case, it's awesome. I mean, there's a lot of little things that they can learn in terms of technical stuff online. Again, it's easy to hop on YouTube, watch a few videos of ways to edit and put things together. Um, but the main point to that is you still want to tell your story. Again, you're not chasing trends. You're not trying to, go viral necessarily. You're just trying to be authentic. And that gets thrown around so much these days. It's such a buzzword, and I hate saying it like that. But genuinely, you just have people need to know who you are, because that's the other thing that's changed with social media is it was so new for so long, and people just started to believe what was out there, and then the perception of people um, was totally different than what the reality was for so long. Now we've all smartened up, right? We know that social media is a very polished, place where you can make yourself look way better than you actually are. Which again, just like us, professionally, we always, we're probably not 100% genuinely who we are if we're in an important meeting, or if we're still tightened up a little bit, and that's okay. You want to keep your professionalism, especially if you are in these industries, but you need to showcase who you are, because you want your potential clients, your potential patients to know what they're getting. Because the second they step in the door, they're going to get it, whether you like it or not. So you might as well put it out there first so they have a proper expectations. If you can do that, if you can tell your story effectively, if you can have fun doing it, then do the videos, do the heavy stuff, commit to it. I'm all for that. It just takes a lot of energy, a lot of time. Now the other side is for the people that don't want to do that, and that's the majority, right? For those people, there's really two things to focus on. Number one, it's the basics, right? Like, look at what's on your website. Take what's on your website and put it into a format that makes sense for social media. You know, you can take some pictures, but really just consistently educate people on who you are and what you do. It's not going to go viral. It's not sexy. It's not like something that people are going to stop scrolling through their feeds to check out. It's just not realistically. But when they're doing their research, when they're trying to figure out what orthopedic surgeon they should see for their hip replacement, they're going to see your website, they're going to see your Google page, they're going to see your social media pages pop up. So you want that information to be consistent across the board. So that way, number one, they know what to expect. And number two, quite frankly, it helps your search rankings. If you're consistently posting that accurate information to social media, whether it's pretty and polished or not, as long as it's there and consistent, it will help you show higher on Google. And until that algorithm changes, that's a main focus for a lot of these businesses is, hey, I'm just going to be on social media because it's essentially another landing page. It's another website to display my content and my information, and that's going to help me rank higher. And so that's a big focus for us on the agency level is how do we apply a lot of these simple tactics, not just to get you new business through social media, but from a holistic digital marketing standpoint. How does that make your brand image look? How does it make your search effectiveness look? And really, how does it help your potential clientele find you and believe in you at the end of the day? That's what you really want.
You're going at it from like the most basic way. Like I said, it's not the flashy get XYZ in 90 days,
Mhm.
crazy claims or um, ads that scream all kinds of stuff. You're going in the basic because this is what works. This is what is tested and proven, and it's the thing that doesn't make a lot of noise because again, this is not Nike and Adidas. We're talking about a doctor. We're talking about a
Yep.
surgeon. We're talking about a dentist. So it's going to be very different because you want to find the right information, and instead of writing blogs that no one's going to go through all these blogs. You can have social media posts done properly so that, and you're absolutely right. Like the algorithms have changed that if you're searching on a topic, you will get a YouTube video, you will get some links from social media. Like LinkedIn, I know has the articles. Like if you search for specific
Mhm.
things, it will show you the LinkedIn article on a Google search. And you're taking the approach of um, instead of outbound is more like inbound. When the prospect or your potential patient is searching for these things, they will find content. It will be that person. And on the other side, you can be Dr. Mike. You can be influential. You can
Yeah.
go one doctor versus one anti-vaxxers. Do all the YouTube videos. Do that for years, and you will be Dr. Mike or someone like that that is very well known, influential, and plus have their own practice. What it sounds like you're saying, don't go somewhere in the middle because this is the place where you don't know who you are and what are we doing really with our strategy, and we don't have solid KPIs to measure and to track. Plus, the commitments. The commitments are very different from like the way you explain it. One commitment is very different from the one that you're approaching, which is the one that will bring you, ROI, and it's more on the stable side. Um, with with that approach, which is again not the one that is the most commonly talked about, but is the one that works in all the time. Have you seen changes in your approach? Let's keep it close. Let's say in the last 6 to 2 years, have you seen changes in those things? And what I mean by that is the videos they came and they're here to stay. Like even LinkedIn is introduced, even Twitter is like rolling out like video feeds. Those things are kind of
Yeah.
here to stay. Has it changed from like the polished side, like you were saying? Has it changed in the sense of you will find your prospects no longer on this platform. Now they're more shifting to this platform when it comes to like medical professionals.
Yeah. So there's two ways to look at it, right? From my client's perspective, again, they always want to lean towards something that's a little bit more attractive, a little bit sexier, a little bit more aesthetic. And it's led with a big transition from Facebook focus more towards Instagram. And I have not agreed with it for a long time because of two reasons, right? Number one, Facebook is still the number one most used platform. People talk negatively about it, and it's not the most popular in terms of what people like the best, but it's still where the volume is at the end of the day. And that's always from a marketing perspective what I want. I want the biggest audience that I can pick through and I can niche and I can find who's most relevant. And so that's one reason I've kind of shied away from pushing towards Instagram instead of Facebook. Obviously you can do both, but
Yes.
the other challenges with Instagram itself, and this applies to TikTok, it applies to a lot of the others, is again, it's not just videos, it's imagery. It's You have to post something with an image. And so what that's led to is two things. Number one, a lot of just poor quality images that get posted. And that, from an aesthetic standpoint, is going to hurt you way more than it's going to help you. You could put, 15 posts out there with beautiful pictures and, have a professional photographer come out and do all this stuff. And then if you post one that looks pretty bad, it's going to kill everything that you're trying to do. And so you're trying to live up to a higher standard on that platform, just because of the imagery and the photo expectations that are out there. So that's a challenge, right? It's not that it's impossible. It's not that it's a bad thing. It's just a challenge
Right.
that you don't face when it comes to um, Facebook, even Twitter. Twitter, I don't really use for clients because I think that whole platform, um, since it's turned to X, has changed dramatically and it's just not used as effectively as it was before. That's a whole nother podcast that we could get into. Um, but I think realistically, again, for my clientele, typically professional services, we're focused on Facebook for the volume. We're focused on LinkedIn to build authority. And at the end of the day, I like to tell people that this is not your lead center. This is not your hub to drive new business. This is you're checking the boxes of expectations for people by doing this. Because if I'm looking for an orthopedic surgeon for my hip replacement, I'm searching online. I want to see their reviews. I want to see their website. I want to see um, a, if I some people do all their search on social media. So if they're on social media, am I getting the right information? Do they look professional? I don't need more than that at the end of the day. I need confirmation that I can trust this person. I don't need to be convinced necessarily. I need confirmation. And so we want to give them that confirmation. But with that being said, the core of all this whole conversation, what it comes down to is strategy. And if you don't go into marketing in general, but social media with some sort of strategy, some sort of goal, some sort of expectation for your business, that's the losing battle right there. Everything I've talked about is very blanketed statements, but every client is different. Every business is different. Every person is different, right? Like we all want different things from our experience. And so you have to have realistic and fundamental goals as to what you're trying to do on social media. Because if you don't, you're just, like you said before, you're posting to post. And that's where people hurt their businesses. That's where people make mistakes. That's where people, waste time and energy, and then they get frustrated by it. And so there's a lot of negative outcomes that come without having a strategy in place first.
It's very interesting to have that approach because people will tell you they have it. I have yet to meet a person that says I don't have it. So everyone has it, and they will show you something like that is anything but a social media strategy.
Yeah.
Someone told me like they're like I see people having some sort of tactics, but that's not really a strategy. It's a short term. You heard it somewhere, you're trying out, and you think that's going to be it's not sustainable. It could be some sort of a short term thing you want to give it a shot, but not really a strategy. And realistic numbers, I think it's really hard for business owners because they think like, okay, look, I created one piece, share it everywhere, and it's going to be equally received and equally performed. But the reality is the way you're explaining it. I think I want people to kind of, and you can correct me on this one. You're trying to say like, look, if you're going to shift from Facebook to Instagram, the platform expectation and the users is this. That doesn't mean that we just elevated our clients. That doesn't mean that someone was looking for a hit replacement. This guy is cheap on Facebook, and because you delivered an image, now they will pay more money. You just made what you're trying to portray is like you just made your process more difficult because the same person on Facebook is cool with just a text post. That same person, if he opens up your Instagram, he's expecting polished images. And if you can't deliver that, you shot yourself in the foot or hip in this matter.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like at the end of the day, again, Facebook, you see everything on Facebook, right? Like you don't know what to expect. It's the Wild West. But Instagram, man, nobody's following doctors on Instagram these days, unless like you said, there's some crazy famous influencer or some plastic surgeon, whatever, or unless you know them. I mean, other than that, people don't have a feed of like interest doctors they're interested in checking out. And it, I work with enough of them to be able to say that. Like, I see what's being posted. It's good content. You still don't have followers. It's because people don't want that on Instagram. It's just the truth. Um, Again, unless you're planning on being some big influencer. So it's reality, man. Like
Right. Right.
social media is a slap in the face of reality. And you have to know where to share your reality and where it's relevant and where it's going to be well received. And that's where the strategy comes into play, right? Like, again, Facebook, the demographic is generally older. It's your 35 and up that are more typically affected on Facebook. Instagram is more millennials, some Gen Z that you're looking at. TikTok gets even younger. Again, those are blanketed demographics, but
Yeah.
that's really who you're looking at. So you have to market to each generation gap differently too. And that's a whole nother ballgame, right? Like you said, if you're creating content for your millennials and Gen X and baby boomers, that's a totally different messaging. That's totally different verbal communication, image communication than with Gen Z and Gen Alpha and all these others that are out there now. I mean, it's two totally different marketing departments at that point. So you have to be really tight on what your expectations are for your social media presence. Because if you're not, I mean, you're throwing stuff everywhere and you're just hoping for the best. And again, that's where people get frustrated, they get stuck, they give up, and they just don't do it successfully that way.
It's a good approach to for people to understand that you're not saying you have to do a bunch of stuff everywhere because if you pick one, you can be very successful. There's no need to be everywhere. Actually, it will hurt you if you're trying to kind of half-ass it across everything. Focus where you know that your audience is and keep focusing there and kind of ignore the rest because you will never or chances are slim or lower from there. If you just put the same effort going here, you will have better results at the end of the day, as opposed to chasing cloud and chasing all the stuff that you might see people are doing. And I think for me at least, the interesting part you mentioned there was going back to like a doctor. Do you really want your content to be something that someone scrolls through? So, I mean, if you're a chiropractor cracking backs, maybe it's cool, maybe it's fun. But if you are again like a dentist, like do you want people to scroll like, oh yeah, I want to look at teeth and mouth? Like it's not something that people will subscribe to and follow. They will check you out when they're looking for the procedure. Thank you. This is all good stuff. and they go in, talk with you. And this is the strategy or part of the whole strategy to know, like, don't look at that metric. If you're looking at did we increase followers, realistically, nah, you won't unless you become like a Dr. Mike kind of thing. Now, these are some of the stuff that it feels like you've been fighting with, overcoming with some of your clients. What are some of the things that people are stuck in their way? They're like, this has to be that way. And you have the data, the metrics, and you're like, please don't do that. But you see it day in, day out in 2025, you still see people doing those things because they're kind of stuck in their own way.
And you already alluded to it earlier. It's the vanity metrics that people are stuck on. So it's likes, it's followers. Um, those don't matter anymore. Right? I mean, to an extent, sure, like you want the audience at the end of the day, but you can pay for that stuff if you really want it to look good. I mean, that's it. It's not about how many followers you have. It's the impacts that your pages have, and that's not just people commenting on it or people liking it. It's again, how is it affecting your search rankings? How is it affecting your overall marketing strategy? From a psychological standpoint, how is it helping you to feel good about your business? I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it outside of how many people like your page. So that's a challenge that I'm constantly fighting. It's, hey, we only got 20 likes on this post. What can we do differently for it? It's like, no, we stay the course. We stay the course because the algorithm changes. The amount of people that see your post will fluctuate just because of that. So that's one big piece to it that people don't really understand. And ultimately, if you have one post that succeeds, one that fails, whatever, it's consistency. Just be consistent, show up, make sure that it's relevant, and that's all you can hope for. Tie it into your overall marketing. So it's not chasing those vanity metrics, and that drives me crazy sometimes.
Now, when we're talking about going crazy, we got to go with the latest thing that is driving everybody crazy, which is AI and how AI is being applied since 2022. For me, it's really hard to talk about these things because people say I'm an expert. I'm like, it started in 2022. It's not even 2.5 years. How if you don't work for Anthropic or OpenAI, I don't know how can you be a AI expert in such a short time. But we're all trying. We're all trying to see and learn this whole new thing. What are some of the changes, applications of AI that you see that are being used properly and improperly in your strategies for your clients?
So I mean, I'll tell you, I'm probably later than most marketers on getting on board with AI, and that was simply because I wanted to see it develop a little bit more. I wanted it to be a little bit more polished, and I've been really into it for probably the last 6 months or so, and exploring different ways to utilize it internally and externally. And so I think the number one most important thing right now is that you're right, AI is just not. It's not quite there yet to be the source of all, right? It cannot be the thing that you rely on to do it all for you. And that's the way that people are looking at it. Like, hey, I can set up this automation and ChatGPT will write a prompt and I'll automatically post it to this and this. And um, you have to keep it human to an extent. So like for me internally, I'm happy to give my process with things like I have a lot of thoughts and ideas on content I want to put together, ways that I want to structure it, and I will feed that into ChatGPT or Claude or these other apps that I'm testing and playing with to see how they can learn my tone, how I can prompt better, and how I can kind of evolve it on my own. So that way it learns my voice, my expectations.
Mm.
And that takes time and it takes energy from a human standpoint, right? You have to
Right.
learn how to prompt, you have to educate yourself. But even with that, I always compare it to art, right? Like I've always liked to draw. But if you put a blank piece of paper in front of me, I always have creative block when I first start. It's tough for me to get started. You can put a piece of paper with a circle and a triangle in front of me, and that changes everything. And then it gives me a starting point to build, right? And so with AI, it's your starting point. It'll give you 80% of what you need,
Right.
but you have to add and edit and make it real and make it human for two reasons. Number one, because it's not going to be great every time. I mean, Go into ChatGPT and ask it to create an image for you and describe the image and see what pops up. I mean, it's not going to give you something great. And it'll be wild what it'll come up with sometimes. And so it's just not from a technological standpoint, not quite there yet. It's getting there and it's getting there fast, but it's not there yet. So you need to have that human editing um, just for accuracy's sake. But number two, I mean, we just have to learn. We need to learn how to interact with it because that's what's going to make it better. What's going to make it more useful. And so, again, combining that human element with the tech AI element is really what's the best way to use it at this point in time. There's a lot of creative ways people are doing it. But again, this goes back to, do you want to be the influencer above all influencers, the number one guy in AI, or do you want to just use it to make your life easier? You want to use it to make your life easier? There's a lot of ways to do that. There's a lot of efficiencies that you can figure out and make work, especially when it comes to content creation. Um, just put your ideas on paper. Put it on paper, feed it into the AI, but review it and then prompt it from there and have the AI build it. It's not going to be a one, just a single prompt and it's going to pump everything out the way you want it. You need to work with it and train it. And then eventually it'll get better and better. But it has to have your feedback individually, not Elon Musk's feedback, not the team over there at Opens, it has to be yours because if it doesn't understand what your tone is, what your expectations are, how you speak, who you're talking to, then it's not going to be able to create the right content. So it's just working alongside of the AI is the important part.
I always when we talk on these subjects, I always tell people it's like if you have a brand new employee, you start from scratch as if they have never tried it and done your processes. So it's not a plug and play day one and everything is
Mm-hmm.
great. And we talked about this off camera. For me, if you say it takes you 80%, it's like zero because I still can't send that. Yes, it's 80% there, but that 20%, I'm not saying it's crucial. I'm just saying putting that out, it's bad. It will harm, it will do more harm than good. So it's taking the time to prompt to understand how that whole thing works. Try out different ones, see which one works the best for you, because the models keep changing. They keep popping up new models and new iterations, reasoning, thinking, all this and all that. And really apply it in the best way that works for you. For me, generative, it doesn't work for me. For me, the automation side works better. So
Yeah.
I can before I had to explain to someone that is a programmer and they would say we got to do it this way, that way, and maybe we get like 80% of the process there and we have a couple of workarounds, a couple of Google worksheets that pop up and they're automatically deleted some weird quirk.
Yeah.
And now you tell the AI and the AI will do that final piece. Like a simple thing, like if I give you a PDF, I want you to extract a couple of informations out of it and put it into a Google Sheet and kind of structure it. Well, that thing was really, really hard to do like 2 years ago. Like really hard to just scan this PDF and take out these pieces and put them in that amount of time and that efficiently. If that gets me 80%, I'm okay going back and tweaking so that it pulls the right information so that I'm not like you were saying, starting from like a blank page. The videos now are what I've been telling people is if you scroll through your feed through 50 of them, and if I put in like 3 or 4, a year ago, those would like stick out like a sore thumb. But
Mm-hmm.
now you really, if I didn't tell you there's AI videos here, if I'm like, hey, here's a feed of 50, you're not gonna detect. It'll be really, really hard to detect the ones that are made with AI, and it's like rapidly, like the speed is like insane how fast it's going in that direction now. Do you feel like businesses need proprietary or something like that AI to for their processes or their creative things to not go into the LLMs, or you're like, it doesn't really matter. It's like Google search, it has your data.
I think at this point, it doesn't matter. Maybe in the future, yes, but like I said, everything's so young right now. I think the challenge with the proprietary AI is that it's moving so fast. By jumping into that early, it's good if you're really into this, right? Like if you again, just like the influencer content, if you're going to be involved, if you're going to adapt with it, if you're going to work with it over time to improve, that's great. That's awesome. And I'm all for it. But most people want that. automation to make their life easier so they can be hands off. Well, hands off also means that in 6 months, when the AI is much more advanced and there's more capabilities, you're going to be stuck in the past already. And so I think for right now, taking time with it, being patient with the process, not jumping too deep into it if you're not ready for it is the best way to do it. Focus on the simple functions, interact with it. I think that's the best thing that we can do right now. Because listen, it's here to stay, right? Like we can like it, not like it. The fact of the matter is, AI is here. It's going to keep getting better and growing. That's the world we are living in, period. There's no turning back at this point. The best thing we can do is be inquisitive, is learn, is use it not to dumb ourselves down, but to help us understand the world a little bit better. And so, I look back to, 5, 7 years ago when Siri and Alexa and all these, voice search uh, bots were really coming into play. And those were, simple question and answer, right? Like real
Yeah.
quick. You couldn't build off of that. Now with AI, if people start to think about it in those terms, like, hey, I can ask AI this question, it'll give me an answer, but I can dig deeper, right? I can dig deeper than that. I can ask why. You almost have to have a childlike thought process at this point, and just keep asking why, or keep asking how can I do this better? How can I be more efficient? What would make this process work for my particular business or for my schedule? There's so many nuances to it. If you just keep diving deeper, it will create something for you. It will make your life easier. It might not be in the way you think, but if you ask the right questions, it'll find the answers.
Definitely. And I think that's the mindset people should have. Explore it, ask the questions, and see how you can apply it to yourself. I think there's also this huge obstacle because there's so many. Before it was like two or three, and now there's so many. People don't even know where to start. The easiest thing is to apply it where you think it will have them the best impact. And don't just think of the generative stuff. The automation piece is pretty huge because those automations
Mhm.
that we couldn't do in the past now are definitely usable and doable. When it comes to the couple of myths I want to bust before the end because we're kind of approaching it. Do you feel like these social media platforms understand or penalize AI posts?
Do I think they understand them? Yes. Do I think they penalize them? No, I really don't think so. I think we're at a point now where, again, it's still, as long as it's not being rifled out, right? Like if I go to ChatGPT and say, make me 100 posts for today, and I have an automation with a social media posting platform, and I load it in there and it's posting every 4 minutes for me, you're going to get penalized for something like that. Or the algorithm's going to hurt you. Because that's just like, that's not human, right? Like, that's clear that you are doing something to try and buck the system. For me, all my content starts with ChatGPT. It's because I have, like we talked about before, I have a strategy in place. I've implemented that, and I can say, okay, this week, here are the things I want to focus on. Make me 4 posts for this week, and I'll go through them and I'll edit them from there. And so I think having that human aspect to it, that's all that you really need. Again, will that change in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? Probably. All the algorithms are changing. Google's
Um,
algorithm for AI is changing like crazy.
yes.
But from a social media standpoint, that's kind of we're status quo at this point.
Status quo this one. All right. If I press the publish button manually versus with a automation like a social media posting software, manually pressing the button post performs better.
So that's a difficult conversation because again, from an agency standpoint, we've been using publishing softwares for years and years, and sometimes it does kind of hurt you because especially like Meta, they want everybody in their platform, right? It's just like Google. Google wants people using Google. So they incentivize you to use Google Ads and Google Analytics and all these other functions of their business model. That's what, social media is trying to do, but I think that they're understanding the importance of these softwares with all the different platforms out there. That's why Meta has their business suite, although nobody knows how to use the business suite. And I will call out Meta right now. I've been doing it for 10 years and I still have no idea how the hell to do it.
It's bad.
So it's nuts. It's the most complicated thing I've ever seen. But at least they recognize that you need something to be able to scale this content. Because if you don't, it becomes way too laborious. It becomes way too intense for just anybody to do. And they want the volume. They want more people to be active and involved. And so they have to make it easier. And they know that these softwares make it easier for them. There's going to be a way to tie it all in. It again, it's just not there yet. And like we were talking about, in 6 months, there might be a really easy solution that's super effective, that makes sense for a lot of people. And they might roll that out overnight and it'll just be a game changer. We just don't know yet. I think that the wheels are in motion for a lot of these things. And generally the concepts are there. They're not perfect yet.
Got it. Got it. Okay. In today's time, right now, because of AI, quality is rewarded versus quantity. The logic behind that myth is before you couldn't pump out, now you can. Before that was awarded because it was humanly impossible or you need a huge team. Now AI can do it. So they switched to if you watch dwell time on a post, watch time on a YouTube video, longer video versus more frequent videos. That is mean so quality is rewarded and dwell time and watch time versus quantity, which was rewarded in the past.
Yeah, 100%. Before, I mean, it was a volume game for the longest time, and now it has to be just relevant. I mean, there's so many people posting, like you said, chiropractors backcracking videos, right? There's a million of them out there. They're not unique anymore. And so that's what's always changing. And that's what, people hear the word algorithm. They don't really know necessarily what goes into it, but that's exactly it. It's watching the trends of what people are interested in, what they're doing. That's why backcracking videos will probably fill up somebody's feed for 3 weeks. And then all of a sudden they're gone because they got so popular and there's so much volume that we had to shift to the next thing. And it's always going to be a fluid world when it comes to this content piece. So it's what's next, what's next, what's next. That's what makes it so hard to be, a professional and trying to be an influencer with this stuff is it's two full-time jobs. It really is. And there's just not a lot of value in building your business that way. So really it's just focusing on what's important for your business, telling that story because that's unique at the end of the day.
The final one, video is the only format you should kind of focus on it and publish going forward.
No. Uh, but again, that goes back to strategy, right? There is a world where you can do video really efficiently. You can do it really effectively, and it makes a lot of sense. That's not necessarily the case for a lot of people. A lot of people could take really bad videos with their iPhones. The angles are terrible, and it's going to make them look unprofessional. It's going to make them look out of touch, and those things are it's going to hurt your business. So if you can't do it at least 75% the right way, just don't do it. It's fine. It's okay to not do it. I think that's what people don't understand is it's okay to not be doing this stuff. It's okay to not be on social media if you don't want to be, like at the end of the day. From a business strategy standpoint, do I advise that? No. But even if you don't want to be on it, there's ways to do it in a simple way that are positive towards your business and don't drag you down because you don't want to be on it. So again, it's okay to not participate. It's okay to not be in this world. If you're going to do it, just be smart about it. Be strategic about it.
Got it. Bobby, if people heard all the stuff you said and you're like, man, I like this guy, I like what he does, how do they get a hold of you?
Easiest way, they can go to 4mjsocial.com. There's a chatbot on there. Love using my AI chatbot. They can contact me on there. There's a contact form, or they can always just shoot over an email, info@4mjsocial.com. Happy to have any conversations about social in the future.
Fantastic, Bobby. Thank you so much for this. I learned a lot of stuff. Wish you all the best, and we'll keep in touch as the things change in the future.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.